Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about Protools by Bimmergeek and how does it compare to BimmerCode in terms of coding, diagnostics, and price. Stay tuned. Getting started, price and compatibility. The first thing you need to know is that Protools is currently Android only. So you'll need an Android phone or tablet for it to work. There are some Android devices that's iffy on, for example, certain Pixel models. But there is a Facebook group where people would discuss, help debug. So if you're not sure, you could join their Facebook group and ask a question. Maybe other people will know the answer. All right, now that we got compatibility out the way, we gotta talk about price. Pro Tools itself, as of filming, cost $90 for the diagnostic portion or $80 for coding. If you were to purchase them together like I did, it's $150. That's really steep for an app compared to, for example, BimmerCode. BimmerCode right now for the coding part, so BimmerCode itself is $30 for the full license. And if you want the diagnostic functionality, you could purchase BimmerLink, which is around $36. And it's not only the apps, you also gotta think about the wireless adapters or the wired adapters you guys wanna use to connect the phone to the car. For Pro Tools, I use MHD's Wi-Fi Ethernet connector. It works pretty much, generates its own Wi-Fi connection, your phone connects to it, and that's how it talks to the car. This adapter could also be used with BimmerCode as well, so one adapter for both. Previously, I purchased the OBD Link CX for BimmerCode. It uses Bluetooth to communicate with the adapter, and it works super fast with BimmerCode, but unfortunately it's not compatible with Pro Tools as of now, time of filming. So that's something to take in consideration. So if you want to use BimmerCode, it's $30 plus $80 for the adapter, while if you want to use Pro Tools, it's $80 for the adapter as well, but it's $150 for the full app, or just, I believe it's $80 for the coding portion. So something to take $160. If you only want coding, $230 for total. So something to take account of. So we're in the car. First thing you need to do is to plug in your Ethernet adapter into your car's OBD2 port. Once it's connected, it should have its own, in my case, its own Wi-Fi network. Make sure the phone is disconnected and disconnected from your house Wi-Fi and connected to your car's Ethernet Wi-Fi. When you open Pro Tools, you'll see a menu like this. You make sure you're selecting the right interface. In my case, it's Wi-Fi. Chassis, you just keep out auto detect. It should detect that it's a G chassis. And then you just click connect. Just letting you know that Bluetooth should be off when you're using this adapter, but I personally never ran into interference, but you should probably turn it off if you're worried. This is the point where if it does not detect your vehicle or the adapter, it will throw an error right here. But if you see system check, then there's a high chance that it detected a car and you're good to go. Awesome. So we're in the main menu of Pro Tools, and there's many different selections. Airbag, safety, it's separated into different sections, very similar to BimmerCode. So you have different sections: vehicle, multi-ECU is just several coding that will affect different ECUs. Drivetrain, engine, that's the DME. There's really not too much you could do if your DME is still locked. But there are other ECUs, for example, cruise control. And many of these ECUs, for example, like radar, gear selector, they're not available in BimmerCode as of filming. But for example, CAFSCA, that's one of the big codings you'll want to do to pretty much round out your Anti-Dazzle coding that is not available in BimmerCode. So Pro Tools has a lot of the coding available that you will see if you guys were familiar with E-Sys. it pretty much has most of their coding available and has many of them labeled or pretty much mapped to English so you understand what it is, rather than if you were to just only use E-Sys, at least the current one that I tested, a lot of them weren't mapped. So you'll need to download or purchase a separate mapping tool like Beamer Utility or something like that too, so you know what each coding does or what it is associated to. But back on point. All right, so for example, if you want to go multi-ECU, you'll see different options. You could read error, clear error, vehicle order. If you want to modify the vehicle order, if you're installing an option that you didn't include in factory, such as laser headlights, that's something you can modify, install, plug and play, and then just change in vehicle order and recode. And in theory, it should work. Battery swaps, ECU data. If you want a data log, that's also available. Read, clear errors. So read, clear errors, that's part of the diagnostic part of the license, and that's not available in BimmerCode. You'll need to purchase Beamer links for it. So it's nice to have all the applications and the features in one app rather than jumping between either or. And coding. This is where most of the features you'll see could be done on BimmerCode, bar like one or two exceptions where like BimmerCode hasn't been mapped yet. All right, so these are a list of all the popular codings that you could do. To be honest, most of these features you see already on BimmerCode. For me, the biggest feature I used it for was if you go to camera system, the Anti-Dazzle headlights improve dynamics. Later in the video, I'll show you how to actually code the Anti-Dazzle, but I did notice that after coding the CAFSCA, so the camera system on your windshield, you'll see the high beam and Anti-Dazzle system kick in a lot more, and you'll see, and it's more sensitive, so it's able to keep it on longer and actually, I guess you could say, a closer tunneling effect versus without the system. But that's something to keep in mind. But pretty much all the coding you'll have available in BimmerCode, you will have available in Protools, plus a little bit more. So just to show how Protool works, I will code Anti-Dazzle. So similar to the one I code using BimmerCode, but this time we're going to code a little bit more using the CAFSCA ECU. So first we have to go find the coding. In this case, we have to go to multi-ECU coding. Close. All right, so we go to enable GFHB, which is Anti-Dazzle. I think it's an acronym for it in German. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. So you'll see right here, they labeled it step 1. This is what you gotta do first. It'll read the coding data from the ECU and ask you, well, you want to back up the current coding data before proceeding. You make sure you click confirm. You can name it. I already have a coding backup, so I'm not gonna save another one. And then you scroll down, enable, so make sure this is enabled. And then click finalize. It will run the code. Say code finish. It's going to clear all the errors. And then you just cycle your ignition. Turn off, and then 1, 2, 3. Redo ignition. It's hot right now, so I just have the engine on. for the AC, but in theory, you'll probably want to do this in diagnostic mode, where you just press the engine start stop 3 times quickly. So but you'll make sure you have your car plugged into battery or have a trickle charger installed, so it doesn't run out if you're taking forever to code. Well, my camera overheated. I guess the sun was too much for it. So over to my GoPro over here. Actually, my DJI Action, but all right. So we'll continue. So after we've coded step 1, something I like to do is to go to Tools, underneath Manipulated Parameters, click Detect Change. This way I could go and check whether or not all the changes I want are through or has been applied. The first step, the stuff that you do to BDC, body the domain control, isn't necessarily all the changes we want. This is what Protools said. Oh yeah, these are the common changes they made to enable Anti-Dazzle. But according to my research on the Bimmerpost forums, and like I did in my last video on BimmerCode, there's a few more changes that Protools missed. So all those changes, you can just write down what changes they are based on the differences that Protool told you, and you can go to expert mode and find the same changes and code it. It's the same exact way we coded on BimmerCode. So something to keep in mind. But so with all that changes in, and we checked it in the manipulated parameters, we could then go back under popular coding, trying to find the camera system and Anti-Dazzle. So we have the improved dynamics. If you want to back up the code engine, highly recommend you back it up, but I already did it, so I'm not going to back it up. Same thing, click enable, finalize, code. Enable, and then finalize. And then code, restart the car, and then double verify under manipulate parameters under tools, and you'll see this coding for the camera system changed 4 things. So these are the 4 features that are not available under BimmerCode as of filming. And these help improve its detection of signs and how sensitive it is to sudden changes in signs, detection of cars in front of you. The biggest change I noticed is when I'm driving towards the left or the right lanes, the edge lanes, it will detect that there's no cars in those edges and increase and at least utilize the high beams for the side of the road, so you know if animals, wild animals running out, stuff on the side of the road, helps you see it better, as well as it pretty much allows you to the tunneling effect to pretty much have that tunneling effect for longer when you're following a car, and doesn't shut off right away, which is what the old BimmerCode coding does. All right. So, going back, just some quick features. You can see there's also reading errors. That's I found pretty useful. Right now, there's no errors to my car. You could use it to clear any errors you might get, detect any errors, so something goes wrong. But pretty much most of the features you'll see on BimmerCode, this Protools also have it. So maybe you might think it's worth the extra money. Some stuff I want to talk about. I know in one of my previous videos I talked about making a video on E-Sys, which is BMW's, I guess, their own developed software on, that's where they do all their coding and stuff. And it's a Windows-based application, and it updates. There's a new version where that correlates with the new iDrive system. Makes sense. So I was just doing my own research. I only have a Mac that that has Apple Silicon in it, so I have to run this whole application on a Windows virtual machine, which is fine. I managed to get it connected to the car. Played around with the vehicle order, trying to add on Anti-Dazzle, did some coding with the options, but then I realized that along with my research, it shows that like a lot of the new E-Sys, a lot of the options are not mapped to it, and you gotta use a launcher with it. So a launcher is like another application that runs alongside E-Sys, and this is all based on my research, my understanding. I could be completely wrong, so hopefully maybe there's someone smarter in the comments that could correct me. But the launchers need to be launched alongside. Pretty much it opens E-Sys as well as maps different options to it. So it's just a bunch of hexadecimals. Or the options are just a bunch of hexadecimals, and you have to you don't know what each option is unless you have like something like a launcher or something that pretty much maps, tells you, hey, this option is anti-dazzle, this option is sequential headlights, something like that. And from what I understand, all the launchers are Windows based, which makes sense. E-Sys only runs on Windows, and it can't run on a virtual machine, which is what I have it on. So yeah, I don't think I was gonna go and buy a new Windows laptop just to run this, because along with the pain of installing E-Sys, which is kind of janky the way it's installed, you'll need a launcher. One launcher I've seen that's pretty easy to use, that's not like Russian made or Chinese made, is an application called Bimmerutility. Seems pretty legit. It's like $100 something though, so at that point I was thinking, oh man, this is something that's hard to use. You need a laptop. It's so much easier to code with the phone. So I just figured I'll try the next best thing, which is Protools. And for me, Protools seems easy. It has like most of the features I was looking for. Vehicle order coding, so VO coding, as well as anti-dazzle access. They have the CAPSA, the camera system, already mapped. So just seemed easier that way. So yeah, I probably won't be doing a E-Sys video. This will just be the replacement for that. Protools. Personally, with the price, $150 for the master license, or $80 to $90 based on which diagnostics or coding license you choose, I think Protools, personally, I think it's worth it if you haven't brought BimmerCode yet. If you already brought BimmerCode and the adapter already, you're already what? That's $80, $110 down the drain already. You already spent $110 on BimmerCode and adapters. I don't think Pro Tools is worth it. I mean, so the biggest reason I got Pro Tools is because I really want to see if I code the camera system for the Anti-Dazzle, how much of a change it is. I noticed the change, but I don't think it's a $230 worth of change and the dramatic. It doesn't change my life. It hasn't changed my life that dramatically, especially since I live in the city, well, in the suburban near the city, so plenty of street lights, a lot of people driving, high beams everywhere. So it's not life changing, all in all. But if you haven't purchased BimmerCode, and key thing, you have an Android phone, or you have a spare Android device, tablet or phone laying around, and you haven't purchased BimmerCode yet, and you're interested into diving into BMW coding, I think it's I think it's worth it. It definitely is a little bit more advanced. It's a more powerful software as of now than BimmerCode, so it gives you a lot more features and functionalities. You can play with it a little bit more. It has more ECUs mapped than BimmerCode as of filming. So I think this is a great start into coding if you haven't purchased BimmerCode. Its diagnostics and data logging features is cool. I personally haven't used it that much, other than reading errors and clearing them. But that's something you could also purchase with Beamer Link. So their sister app to BimmerCode, which does the same thing, you know, reading, diagnostics, flap control, data logging, etc. But that's, you know, $36. Separate to $30-ish you would have to pay for BimmerCode, which is still ultimately cheaper than Pro Tools. All right, so that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if what you guys want to see next, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.